Hello, this video is going to be about Cyberspace Detective by Amit Anand, which is piece C1 in the current 25-26 ABRSM Grade 1 piano syllabus. There's quite a lot to this piece, so I'm probably going to make two separate videos. Now, I know some of you like to be shown what to do rather than having to try and read the music. I don't blame you, especially with one that's quite complicated like this. But I would encourage you, as well as using this video, to actually use the book. I will from time to time refer to the written music, and I want you to have your copy with you so that you can see what I'm talking about. And one of those things, actually, I'm going to mention right at the beginning, which is these staccato dots. There's a lot of staccato dots, aren't there, in both hands, but notably, right at the beginning of the right-hand part, those first three notes are staccato. So don't play it like this, but play it like this. The last note isn't staccato, but the first three are. And if you compare the first two bars in the right hand, the music's exactly the same. And then in bars 3 and 4, we have a slur. So we stop playing legato and, sorry, I beg your pardon, we stop playing staccato and we play those two bars legato. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about the right hand. Now, you want to start with your, this is middle C, by the way, and I think that's the lowest note in the piece and that's the highest. So there's just room on this camera to show you everything. Now, you want to start with your second finger, please, on middle C, and then a little gap between your second finger and your thumb. So your thumb is on A, second finger on middle C, third finger to start with on C sharp, fifth finger on E. Your fourth is actually going to play the D sharp or E flat in a moment, but don't worry too much about that. Also, your third is going to change position, but those fingers, if you can keep them in place for really the first 8 bars. Okay, so here goes the right hand. We start quietly and remember which notes are staccato. Now we get a bit louder. I'm going to stop there a second, so we start quietly. Ba, 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 off. Ba, 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 off. Crescendo. Hold 2, 3, 4. Then the second line starts the same. Not quite as quiet. Mezzo piano, notice. And then a little variant of the tune. So that bar 6, you're going to go 5, 4, 5, 1. The fourth playing the D sharp, of course. Notice that that note features quite a lot. There it's called D sharp. In other places it's called E flat. But of course on the piano it's the same note. Which we call it depends on the context, really. Okay, and then in bar 7 and 8, again it goes legato, we have a crescendo. It's similar to bars 3 and 4, but a little variation of it. 2, and off this time on the third beat. Don't hold that A for the full 4 beats. Okay, excuse me. I'm going to play from the beginning now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that 2-beat rest there is useful because we need to change position then. we need to take our hand up here. So your pinky, your fifth finger goes to A, second finger to E. So you're going to do this. Now this is not marked staccato, but it's also not slurred. So you can, I would probably simply play it legato. You can detach the notes very slightly if you like. Notice, however, in bar 10, the beginning of the next line, the note on the fourth beat, the G, has this symbol underneath it called a tenuto mark. That means you give it a little bit of an accent, play it quite firmly, and also slightly detach it. So these 4 bars might go something like this. No, we're still forte, aren't we here? So. In bar 12, I followed the fingering there. I played that final E with my thumb. You don't really need to. In fact, I prefer to do it with my second finger. So in bar 11, we reached down from the E to the D sharp, but I still used my second finger. So I'll play those 4 bars again. Then we have something very similar, but we've had a crescendo, we've had a diminuendo, I beg your pardon, which the left hand will have brought up there. So now we're quieter, mezzo piano again. Now this is almost the same phrase, but notice the last bar of the line, which is bar 14, we don't have that tie. This is a very syncopated piece. You get a lot of this sort of rhythm, da 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 dum. So it's like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Da, 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 dum. But just for a change, in bar 14, the composer doesn't do a syncopation. Instead, we have da, 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 da. Okay, so I'll play from bar 13 with mezzo piano, now a bit quieter. Again, that last E you can play with your thumb if you like. I still prefer to play it with my second. You do have to make another position change then. You're going to go bring your thumb up to A. So arguably, it makes that easier if you play that with your thumb. I'm not sure it does though, because that means thumb and then thumb there. It's probably just as easy to do it with 2 and bring your thumb there. I'll just go through bars 9 to 16 again. So we're starting, 9 to 16. And then you have 1 beat to quickly move your hand. So you need to practice that position change. So remember, the efficient way really of practicing position changes is knowing what your first note in the new position is going to be and which finger is going to play it. So for instance, our first position change, our first major position change anyway, was at bar 9, where we had to go from this position to that. Now the best thing is to focus on the fact your pinky is going to play the first note in the new position and it's going to be an A, so focus on moving your pinky to A. Then this change at the beginning of bar 17 or the end of 16, it's going to be your thumb. There isn't a finger number marked, but it's going to be your thumb playing this A. Do you see where I am? Because this is a repeat of our opening phrase, but an octave higher. So practice moving from there to that same position, that same sort of position that you had at the opening of the piece, but an octave higher. Now, we're already mezzo piano, but it says P subito, P meaning quiet. Subito means suddenly. So you haven't got a lot to play with there. It would be easier if you were forte here and you suddenly went quiet. That would be more noticeable. However, think of it as really whispering, creeping, the detective is creeping along. So going back to here, it might be something like whisper. And so on. I'll stop there for a moment. So our last 8 bars, these 2 bars, which are 17 and 18, are the same as 5 and 6, but an octave higher. Bar 19 is the same as bar 3, but an octave higher. And bar 20 is the same, repeats that. And then bar 21, I'll look at that in a moment. So I'll go from 17. Still quiet, but a big crescendo. Okay, so that's all basically notes that you've played before, just an octave higher than when you played them before. And then our last 2 bars, so we're in this position, we've been doing this. The last but 1 bar, we start with the same 4 notes, but that note this time is written as D sharp rather than E flat. That's because it's going up to an E, so it's more convenient to write it as D sharp. It's the same note. And what you do is this. Look at my fingers. I'll play it very slowly. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Thumb under, just like a scale, to the E. Then you play G, E, A. This is probably the best fingering. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 1, 4. Okay, that takes a little bit of practice. As always, anything that seems slightly tricky like this, practice it, have a go at playing it without looking at your fingers, because that way you will program the movement into your brain much more effectively than if you're using your eyes a lot. So once again. Last, that high A is a staccato crotchet, so maybe not quite as short as the staccato quavers, but still pretty detached. And it's fortissimo now, as loud as you like. Then you jump down for that chord, middle C, F sharp. So I'm just going to play the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars from bar 17. And we're still fortissimo here. There's even an accent under that chord, and we have a pause sign over it, so you hold it for longer than there's no slowing down in this, but once you've hit that final chord on the 3rd beat of that bar, you just hold it for longer than 2 beats. Just hold it for as long as you like, basically. Nice dramatic ending. Now, I think that's probably enough for one video, so I'm going to make a separate one about the left hand. So that's the end of this video.